Hello everybody, my name is RPG and welcome back to Let's Play Shining Force 3. In today's episode we're going to be making a start on Chapter 2. We've just made it over to the town of Railhead and we're going to try and get on a train and get out of the Empire and all the way back over to the Republic. So this episode is going to be a tiny bit of story right at the start while they're talking in the headquarters, and then I'm going to cover the fluff for the town, which is a little bit bigger than Balsamo, quite a bit bigger than Balsamo actually. We're getting this lovely panoramic shot of it right now. But there is a lot less items to find in it. So there's only really 2, maybe 3 at a push items that are really particularly valuable and actually worth grabbing. But there's quite a lot of interesting little bits of dialogue you can pick up from a lot of the NPCs dotted around the town. And most of it is to do with Governor Garvin, who is the kind of the mayor or the ruler of the city-state of Saraband. And kind of his backstory and the town of Railhead itself. So I'll come to more of that in a minute. I'm going to stop for now and I'm going to let the game take over for the story. So our current objective is to wander around Railhead a little bit. So we're going to actually talk to the people into the headquarters this time. They always have like a little bit to say, and it usually changes based on where you are in the story. I skipped over this in Balsamo because it's a really short town and there's a lot of items in there anyway. But I'm going to start doing these in each town now, providing that I actually remember when we go into each one. We'll have a lot more characters as well, and all the characters that you recruit will wind up in the headquarters and talk to you. The exception is Benatram. What Benatram's job is, he lets you manage your force, manage your items, and he also gives you advice on what you should do if you're stuck. So I'm going to put the ruins map in storage because I don't need this ever again now. And I'm also going to put Mithril in storage. Don't need this. And these flowers. These flowers don't have a use, so they can go away. So I quite like Railhead as a town because, although there's not a whole lot to collect in it, you can pick up quite a lot of interesting little tidbits of story in here. That's something we like Railhead. Like, a lot of the stuff that you find out here is completely optional. So, and it really sheds a bit of extra light on Garvin and Saraband itself, so not everything is as it seems, and although the town is quite big, not everything is wonderful. So it's very much a case of the rich are prospering and the poor are not. I think that might also be the only shelf in the town where you actually gain an item. There's really not a whole lot in here. So Governor Garvin, I quite like him as a character. We're not going to be encountering him in Scenario 1. It's just, we'll be finding some stuff about him to push this old woman out of the way. We're going to just... Oh, didn't even need to, actually. A lot of the stuff we find out about him is very tangential, I guess, because he's not going to crop up in this one. He's quite a major player in Scenario 2, though, so we will be seeing more of him later. So the pub actually has a particularly useful item in it, and it is the only item that is really well hidden. It'd be very easy to miss it. We've also got a unique sprite over here, so we're going to go have a chat to him in a second. So these guys must be bandits if they're talking about Sheriff. We know that Sheriff is the king of the bandits. This is Julian, and he wants to know if we know the Vandals. No, we don't. Never heard of them at this point. So they sound pretty evil. So Enrich, if I remember rightly, is actually the name of the land that Shining the Holy Ark is set in, which is not a prequel to this as such, but it has some ties. It's obviously set in the same world, and it's got some of the similar concepts. It's been a really, really long time since I played Shining the Holy Ark. I can't remember if the last boss is a Vandal or something along those lines, but it's a really, really interesting game actually. It's expensive, really expensive because it's quite rare, and it's also rock solid. But for anyone that enjoys first-person dungeon crawlers and kind of the kind of more or less whimsical style of RPG that the Shining Force series is, I'd really, really heavily recommend it. So, tucked away inside that table, that corner, is a quick chicken. What the quick chicken does is it increases your character's agility, or one character's agility, by between 1 and 4. So, normally, I would just use that on Symbios, because I want him to be my strongest character. But to make my life a little bit easier in the next battle, I may use that on Danterez instead. And I'll explain the reasoning for that in a little while, but in the battle coming up, it'll be really important that I have Danterez move before most of the enemies, or I'm going to have a really, really difficult time. And if he doesn't, literally the only option I'll have will be to do a tiny bit of grinding off screen to be able to make sure I can do what I want to do. So a couple of these houses are actually locked, and we can't even enter them. This one though, this one does have an item tucked away in it, if I remember rightly. So what we're picking up so far is that a lot of kind of the common people around the town are not brilliantly well off. But if you're involved with a train, and in particular involved in kind of like the managerial aspect of the train rather than the kind of the manual labour side, you're actually quite well off. So another mithril tucked away in here. That will be useful eventually. I think by the end of the game, I should have maybe 20-ish pieces of large mithril, which is enough for me to make a mithril weapon for every character, and have spares left over to make 1, possibly 2 extras for some of the other characters, depending on what I want to do with them. Another locked house, so we don't need to worry about that. So this building, I always think is going to be the shops, but it's not. It's kind of like a dormitory bit for the train workers. There's not a lot tucked away in here, but we can get some more opinions from some of the people. Most of the people in these bits are the kind of the manual labourers. One thing I've not talked about yet, actually, is I haven't talked about Obright too much. So Obright is a pretty good character, and I'm talking about his stat-wise here rather than from a story perspective. And he's going to stay in the Force for a really, really long time, but I'm thinking I am probably going to move him out and into the reserve team at some point. And not because he kind of falls off late game. He's still a very, very useful character, but there's something towards the end of the game that he'll make much easier for me. So I think I will eventually move him and use a different character, but that'll be a little ways off yet. So another thing we're really picking up at the minute is that people either think the train is absolutely brilliant, or that it's worthless, essentially. And I'm not sure. We should have probably picked this up so far as well from a couple of people, because although I'm putting the text up on the screen, I'm not really reading it while I'm talking. It's really expensive, like so expensive that most people can't even get to ride it. So like this couple here, for example, they sold their house and that was only enough for a one-way ticket, and it's only because the new station chief is such a quote-unquote nice guy that he let them actually be able to even get back at all. So the station building over here is where we actually need to go to progress the story, but I am going to be leaving that for last. I don't think there's any items tucked away in here. Lovely old couple here just enjoying the train and the smoke. So this bit over here is the weapon shop and the item shop. Talk to this kid first. Doesn't see. He seems a little bit surprised that we don't care that his dad's a train engineer. Must be a fairly rare occurrence. Right, so for the weapon shop, there's actually a couple of new things here. So the first thing is we've got a deal. And in the deal we've got this power rank, which has the Tornado level 3 spell on it. So that doesn't mean that whoever I equip it on will be able to cast the level 3 Tornado spell. That'll be really broken this early in the game. What it means is that they will have access to the Tornado series of spells, and as they level up, they will have access to higher levels. So I'm going to give this to Mascarin, because although, Grace, because although Mascarin can equip it, it doesn't increase her attack. It's not her best weapon. It's a really good weapon for Grace. It puts her attack up really high, so she'll actually be able to last hit things if I need to. And it also gives her an offensive spell. And to be really honest, I will pretty much never use the Tornado spell, almost certainly. But it's nice that she's got the option. And we don't need the Wooden Rod anymore. In terms of new weapons, we've got the Iron Blade, which I don't think was in the last shop. This is the third set of, or the third series of weapons that the swordsman can equip. So they can equip swords, rapiers and blades. We've also got the Halberd, which is the third set of weapons that the knights can equip. So they've got lances, spears and halberds. I am not going to pick up a halberd for Dantrez at this point. He's much better off with the lance. In terms of warriors, we've got the axe, which Obright's got, the tomahawk and the mace. The mace is a little bit stronger than the axe, but I'm going to keep Obright with the axe for now, because he's much better suited with them. I am going to pick him up a tomahawk though, because his movement speed is a little bit slow, slower than Dantrez's. It's only a 6, and his agility is quite low. So he's frequently going to be just slightly out of range of enemies, and this will increase his range by 1, and it will make it a little bit easier for him to actually get those hits in. I think I will just sell his axe at this point, because the Tomahawk is just better, stat-wise. So even though I really want him to gain XP with the axe, the Tomahawk will do for now. We've also got this Bronze Claw and this Leather Glove, which are for a character we don't have yet. And tucked away over here we've got the Wand, a Rod, and we've got a Wooden Arrow, a Crossbow Quarrel, and this Assault Shell. This Assault Shell is a ranged weapon. It would be a pretty substantial boost to Hayward's attack, but I don't want to give him anything other than a bow for now, because I really want to get him towards that level 2 special attack with the bow as quickly as I can, because it is an absolute godsend when it procs. It's a really fantastically useful special attack, and if I start giving him XP and other weapons, I run the risk of him taking ages to learn it. So the item shop lady, she's got nothing in deals. If we want to buy anything, we've got just herbs and angel wings. Nothing I really want. She's not going to haggle with me. I could try and proc a haggle, but she doesn't actually sell anything of any real use. So we'll leave that for now, and we'll keep wandering around the town. Got 2 more people in here. Some lady commented on my attire. Personally, I think Symbiosis is dressed perfectly fine, but you know. So we've got a little bit of a talk for a monk here. That is actually kind of a little bit of a teaser for a character that will come up on in a little while. I'd forgotten even got mentioned at this point. So over here I think is where we started for exploring, yep. So we've just got this little bit up here to go. And these 2 chaps down here. Can't afford to miss his train apparently. Well, to be really honest, with how expensive the trains allegedly are, it never gives you a price. But with how expensive they are, I would really think that, yeah, you really genuinely can't afford to miss your train. So, the last little bits of Railhead up here. We've already been to the bar, so we don't need to worry about that too much. One of these houses has a important key item in. This is the mailbox, I believe, or kind of the post office, I guess, is the actual word I'm looking for there. Yeah, we can't... There's actually not been a great deal of bookshelves dotted away yet in here. Saraband had loads. I don't remember if Balsamo had very many, but the bookshelves are actually usually a pretty good source of fluff, so you'll find out a little bit more about some of the characters. So let's have a quick check in here. I'm sure there's a building I've missed somewhere with an old couple that talk about Garvin. Yeah, because they've mentioned the steam engine there and Governor Garvin himself. So this is the Blue Runes map. This is the Rap treasure map for scenario Chapter 2. We'll be coming up on that in a couple of battles' time. In here, this is the church, I believe. I'm not going to bother to record, and I don't need any of the church's services, but there's only one guy tucked away in here because no one in the town really bothers with church because they're rich, except this guy, who comes here to skip his job, which is both commendable and awful at the same time. So, with the town explored, and I don't think I've missed anybody. I was absolutely positive there was an old couple that talk about Garvin, but I must have already done that. Pretty sure I've been in this building. Yeah. Weird. Well, either way, just to summarise, in case I probably have already gone through it and just forgotten, but to summarise really quickly, essentially what they're saying is that they heard that Garvin basically sold the village to a demon to get his steam technology, which is slightly on the unscrupulous side, but it is just a rumour. But with all the stuff about Garvin in this town, it's not a brilliant look for him. So we finally got a little bit of fluff and some wonderful train etiquette there, just fart out the window. Seems like a perfectly reasonable suggestion. Most of this is just not massively useful to us. If it was a little bit more about Railhead like this one, or there was more to do with the town itself, it would be quite nice here. But all we really get is a little bit about what to do on the train, and just general don't be a douchebag stuff. So tucked away in this room, he's just talking about raising the prices of the tickets. Tucked away in this room is a chest that I missed 9 times out of 10. Inside this chest is a lucky cookie. These are the only way to increase a character's luck stat, and luck is a really useful stat because it increases your critical hit chance, your chance to block or evade, your chance for specials to proc, and your chance for enemies to not hit you with their special attacks. I'm going to use it on Symbios so that he can be as lucky as possible. I think his default luck is around about 5, so that would increase it to 7. Luck can only ever go up by 2, I believe. Aiming for like 9 luck is really high. If you get someone's luck up to about 9, they're more or less immune to status effects from special attacks. I say immune. It's just they're very heavily resistant. So we're pretty much done at this point. There is another item tucked away in here. It's hidden away in this plant pot, I think. And it's a healing drop. So we'll hang on to that because healing drops are always nice. You can probably see the huge room there just on the other side of that is absolutely filled with boxes and crates. It is an absolute waste of time. There's not a single item hidden away in there. So if you're playing along, don't bother going in there and just clicking on all of the chests and all the barrels. There's no items hidden away in them. Apart from the 20 gold, the large mithril, the map, that healing drop, and that lucky cookie, there's nothing in this town. Nothing at all. There's one more large mithril actually, talking about it, that we have not picked up yet, but that's because it's in a little bit of the town that we actually can't access. So the trigger to actually move the story on here is to come out, see the train, and then try to leave the train station. So once I've talked to these people, I'm going to do a little bit of item management, and then I'm going to cut there so that I can have all the plot in just a shorter episode before we start the next battle. Because I'm thinking I'm going to do a little bit of accessory shuffling. I don't think I need Symbios to have that defensive barrier, the Protect Bracer. I'm going to give that to Danterez, although he's not actually going to equip it himself. He's going to hang on to that to give to somebody else. The life ring that I picked up in the ruins, I'm going to give to Mascarin for now, although that won't be a thing that she's going to have all the time. And Symbios can just have the attack bracer back again. I'd like him to just be able to just one-shot anything that I put him in front of. Because at least then I know I've got a guarantee. I really want to talk to this little girl, but she's been a pain and walking around in all the other NPCs. There we go. Boys like to ride on anything, apparently. You heard it here first, folks. Right, so leaving the town, or leaving the train station building, is going to trigger the next bit of plot. So I'm just going to do my little bit of inventory management. So, Symbios, I want you to equip the attack bracer. Right, let's have that. I want you to give the protect bracer to Danterez. Take the large mithril from him. Don't equip it. Symbios, Danterez, I want you to give the life ring to Mascarin. buffer and equip that. And then let's see what the quick check of characters' agilities. So Dangerous has got 9, Masquerade has got 11, Grace has got 8, Ava's got 6, and Albright's got 4. I think with Dangerous' agility on 9, he might be fast enough already for what I need him for in the next battle. But I'm going to hold off on using the quick chicken until I can be safe, until I can be absolutely sure. The Lucky Cookie is a bonus of luck plus 2. I am going to use that off screen because I don't want to use it now and then have it only increases luck by 1 and eat my own words. So I'm going to end this episode here. Walking straight ahead and trying to leave the station is what's going to trigger the next bit of story. So I'll use that Lucky Cookie in a sec. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.